Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about the rep goal system as a plateau breaker, because I was asked about this on the Facebook fan page the other day. Someone said, hey Jason, there's another YouTuber who I know you've had some beef with in the past, you've had somewhat of a friendship with and then a falling out, who's a big advocate of this. Do you still think it's a viable method? And here's what I would say. It doesn't matter who is putting out a piece of information or a training system. It doesn't matter whether I like them, whether you like them, whether you dislike them, whatever. That's completely irrelevant as to whether a system works or not. And that's something that you need to keep in mind. There are a lot of people who are very successful in their endeavors who get stuff flat wrong and promote systems that aren't really going to work. And there are people who you might dislike for a whole host of reasons who still are putting out some correct information. You've got to learn to differentiate between those things. The quality of a person, or their morals, their ethics, their value as a human being actually has no say at all on the quality of their information when it comes to something like training the human body or scientific facts or anything else, right? That's completely irrelevant, completely irrelevant. So as far as that person goes, it doesn't matter what I think about them. It's completely irrelevant. Either they are right or they aren't. And rep goal systems are a viable method of breaking plateaus. Now, I'm going to discuss in a minute what you should consider before you try something like that, because it shouldn't be your first option. But let's discuss what that is. A rep goal system is when you decide that with a given weight, you want to reach a certain number of reps in a workout through any means necessary. And I'm going to throw this out here. This is completely random. It's completely arbitrary because I don't even usually recommend 3 sets of 10 on a big lift. But let's say that you are stuck at 3 sets of 10 with 300 pounds. And you've tried different periodization, different programming. And no matter what you do on that exercise, when you get to that third set on that 10th rep, you grind through the very last one. It's pretty much muscle failure and you can't get another rep. And when you try to increase to 305, you fail to even get to the 10th rep, right? You might be failing by rep 7 or 8. You might even find that you can't even get the 10th rep on the first set when you add another 5 pounds. So what do? You look at that and go, okay, I've tried this and I've tried different things and it's not working. That's when you look into a rep goal system where you say, okay, I need to find a way to get 31 reps or 32 reps or 33 reps out of this exercise. And people would say, well, why? Why does that matter if it's not adding to the additional sets? Because at the end of the day, it is tonnage and quality reps that determine if you make gains, if you push past a given plateau, whatever it is it happens to be, whether you're talking about size, strength, anything else, they're all interconnected. It's all about workload. Workload is everything. Number of quality reps and upper fiber motor unit and muscle fiber recruitment are everything also. Those things are what matters. And sometimes you have to get to them through any means necessary when you are stuck. And sometimes that can mean getting a little creative with your programming in order to get through there. Now, as a novice, you shouldn't be having these problems. If you're in your first year of hard training, this isn't even what you should be thinking about. You need a basic system. But when you get past that, programming gets more complicated. It becomes more difficult sometimes to break through a plateau when you get stuck. So you would utilize something like that. So what should you do first? Here's what I'm going to say. That shouldn't be your first resort. First, you need to be asking questions like, am I taking long enough breaks? Meaning, if you aren't extremely challenged on the 10th rep on the first set, that's not your 10 rep max, right? If you know you could have got more than 10 reps on the first set, and you're really failing by the third set, you just need longer breaks because that's probably your 11 or 12 rep max. And if you just took an extra minute or two between sets, you would probably get there. And sometimes that's what we need to do. And that's not just me saying that. There's research on that. There's actual research on muscle growth that shows taking longer breaks, if it allows you to complete more reps or a heavier weight for the same number of reps, it causes more muscle growth. That's documented in the literature at this point. So you might just need longer breaks. Maybe you're under recovering. Maybe you're not getting enough sleep. There might be a case of if you just get an extra 30 minutes of sleep every day for the next 2 weeks, all of a sudden you recover enough and you can get stronger. You can add that extra 5 pounds. You can add that extra rep. Might be a case of you're not eating enough. You might have a nutrition issue. Are you getting enough calories? Are you getting enough protein? Or do you have any major deficiencies in your diet? These are things that you have to look at first. Right? So you look at those things and say, okay, are these other things that I can fix? Or is just my training programming just bad, right? Maybe you're not using a good form of periodization or programming for your experience level and your lifestyle. You need to look at all those things and address those things. But if you're doing all of that and it's still a problem, because that's still a rep goal system also, isn't it? In other words, if you have to take longer breaks to get there, but you can't get there with the longer breaks, well, that's what you need to do. But failing all of that, if you're trying those things and they're not working and you're stalled, that's when this sort of thing works. So what do we mean? Well, that means you know that you need to get to 31 reps. So what you might do is take a period of time to where you say, okay, I need to get to that 31st rep in this workout. This 3 sets of 10 is not working. So you might break it up. You might break it up into 3 sets of 8 and then try to get a 7 rep set on the 4th set. That's what you might need to do. And a lot of times that will work, or it might even cut it down to 9. You might be able to cut down to 9, 3 sets of 9, and then just try to get 4 reps. And then the next time you do the lift, come in and try to get 5 reps. And then the next time, try to come in and get 6 reps. So if you work on doing it that way, or if that starts to fail and you can't get there, maybe cut down to the 8s. Try to get to 4 sets of 8. Or even that last set, you cut it down to 7 because it gets hard, and then try to get a set of 5 for a 5th set. You start breaking it down into smaller and smaller goals and spend a phase of time, because that's what we're dealing with. Usually when you start getting more and more advanced, you're looking at things like monthly increases. Can I improve somewhere once a month? Because a novice lifter, what are they looking at? Can I improve every workout? Right? Intermediate lifters, it starts to be looking at, can I improve stuff on a weekly basis or bi-weekly basis? But by that 3rd year in the gym, and sometimes near the end of the 2nd year, it starts to become, can I improve something every month? If I can add a rep every month, if I can add 2.5 pounds or 5 pounds every month, I'm doing good. And that needs to be the way that your goals are oriented as you get more and more advanced. So you might be looking at the long term, and you might have been stalled with this for 2 months straight. And if that's the case, you don't have anything to lose. That time is going to pass anyways. So you might want to spend on that lift where you're training that lift twice a week. You might need to start breaking it up into those smaller and smaller bite-sized chunks. You might get to the point to where the 3 rep set starts turning into 4, 5, or even 6 total sets instead of 3 sets, trying to get to those higher goals. And here's what you're going to find. The majority of the time, if you come in and you break it up and you get to where that used to be a 30 rep max in a workout for you, because it's approaching a 10 rep max off of the 3 anyways, you start getting to where you can do 35. Like first you just got to get to 31, then you get to 32. By the time you get to 35, 36, maybe 37 reps in a single workout for that same exercise, what are you going to find? When you come back and try to hit sets of 10 again, you might find you can now do 11 reps in a set. You might find that you can come in and add the 5 pounds. And so that 3 sets of 10 with 300 turns into 3 sets of 10 for 305. Well, if you're beyond that first year or 2 in the gym, adding, even if it took you 2 months of work to get there, adding 5 pounds to your 3x10 or your 5x5 or even your 3x3, whatever it happens to be, if you can do that, that is progress. That's great progress. I mean, if we could add 5 pounds every month to our big lifts, once we start to get more advanced, once you're beyond that 2nd year, that would be phenomenal. So when you look at it from that perspective, even if you put a month or 2 of work in just to get that extra 5 pounds, that's worth it. That's actual progress. And I know that sounds silly. The novice lifters listening to something like that are saying, okay, well, that's ridiculous. I add 5 pounds every workout. I've been doing that for 10 weeks straight on my squat. I've been squatting 2 or 3 days a week and adding 5 pounds every time successfully. Yeah, but you're going to reach a point to where if you can add 5 pounds once a month, you're going to be ecstatic. That's what happens as you get more advanced. And so something like this lets you break through that. And people will say, well, why? Because it lets you do more workload with the same weight. It's not just about the tonnage moved. It's about doing it with a given amount of weight. It's about getting a certain number of quality reps in as well with a given workload. And it lets you do that. And that additional training tonnage with that weight will cause additional hypertrophy. And that extra hypertrophy is going to make you stronger. Extra hypertrophy will make you stronger. And that means your 1 rep max goes up, your 5 rep max, your 10 rep max, all that goes up. So the whole idea of doing this is to increase the workload when you have reached a workload and a progressive overload stall. When all other things have been exhausted, you know your training is on point, you know your rest times are on point, your recovery's on point, you're sleeping, you're eating enough, everything's been addressed. This is the sort of stuff you sometimes need to do just to break through a plateau and make some progress again. And I think it's an absolutely viable method to do so for the more advanced lifter if that's what you need to do. Not saying it's always your first choice, but it's a viable method. And it doesn't matter who's out there advocating it. Doesn't matter what you think of that person. Even if you don't like me and I just said it. Doesn't matter. It can work, and it works for good reason. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.